left, we have council members Bakhtiari, Westmoreland, and we've been joined by Councilmember Andrea Boone. This does constitute a quorum, so I will make a motion to adopt the agenda. We have a second by Bakhtiari. Can you please open the vote?
The vote is open.
Aye.
We've also been joined by Councilmember Norwood.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. I'm sure you all have had an opportunity to look over the meetings from our prior meeting, so I'll make a motion to approve. Second, by Bakhtiari. Can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes are approved.
Thank you. This does take us to the public comment section of our agenda. So I have a list with our public comment. Also, just so everyone knows that we have a public hearing on 2 CDP items. So it looks like a couple people might have signed the wrong list. So when we get to those items, just let me know if you signed up for the CDP items or if you're here for general public comment. So we'll start with our first speaker. It's Philip Jones, and you'll have 3 minutes. I got it. Try it.
My name is Philip Jones, and I'm a resident of District 10. And I have some concerns on how we do our community development and through our master plan and our comprehensive Plan A and trail plans. And I've been in this business for a while, and I'm looking at the District 10, and we're not getting the resources to like the other district within the city of Atlanta. And we are pretty much, not all, but some of it on Martin Luther King is a depressed area. And I think some of that, the way we look at the comprehensive plan is very broad. And I think we need to narrow it down somewhat, and so we can start recognizing depressed areas, so depressed areas can get the proper amount of resources. And I think that's why we're being overlooked on some of our areas. And within our master plan on the infrastructure plan, Plan A, I think it needs to be an impact study that is designed for our District 10. It's and I think we also need a special committee for depressed areas, not to include where depressed areas are discriminated against, separate but not equal, but just to look at how we can truly turn some of our resources to concentrated areas in our development, in our infrastructure, where it benefit the growth of the city of Atlanta, because right now I don't think that's being done. And my other areas are general review of designated areas not appropriate within the comprehensive plan, because the way the plans are developed is looking at different areas within the city, which has nothing to do with certain areas. And so when you look at those areas, it's not being developed where it's concentrating on that depressed area and how we can design something that we can grow our area within the overall development of the city of Atlanta, in which right now, I don't think District 10 is getting that growth, and we're losing some resources because we're not concentrating on the areas where we need to use the resources from the city of Atlanta.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dominic Winters. You'll have 3 minutes.
Oh, gosh, I think I came at the wrong one. I was here for the HOA comment, but I'm going to go ahead and make this very quick. Good evening to the honorable members of the City of Atlanta Council. I'm here to address you guys at an issue that is affecting our community in regards to the landmark condominium and historical building located here on International Boulevard and Piedmont Avenue that has been receiving a lot of attention throughout these past few months, really few years, in regards to the state of their board and the residents and the long-term homeowners who live there. My name is Dominique J. Winters. I'm America's first and only constitutional rights activist, and I'm here in regards to potential embezzlement of HOA funds and also misappropriation and increased assessments on the senior citizens that we house here in the city of Atlanta at that particular location. It has came to my knowledge that there is an property manager that goes by the name of Alex Beneker, who I sent a cease and desist letter to on April the 18th, requesting that she show proof of her real estate license in order to manage a facility that has more than 12 units, which is required under Georgia Zoning Code Title 43, Chapter 40, Section 30, which prohibits managing real estate property without a license. It has been past the 10-day compliance deadline as of yesterday. And the reason why this is a huge issue, it is a potential unlicensed management that may enable the embezzlement scheme by avoiding oversight. My letter demanded financial records, which includes parking fines, budgets, and IRS Forms 990s. But these remain unprovided, and I would like to state this. Due to the safety and the welfare of our neighborhood that is under the oversight of the city council, I believe this is well in you guys' authority under Section 2101 of the charter. And in regards to that, under Section 3104 of the charter, you have the power to investigate the city's affairs that's impacting the residents, such as our much dear loved senior citizens and some of our retired politicians as well, who's housed there as well. I will urge you guys to use your subpoena power to subpoena the landmark financial records, including board minutes and communications with foreign entities, to uncover the truth and refer this matter to the Fulton County District Attorney Office and the FBI criminal investigation, given the potential RICO violations when it comes to wire fraud and mail fraud. You know, such as them sending out emails or accepting these wire funds from these members. I would like to remind you guys, this is a nonprofit, so under the Corporation Transparency Act, it is their duty to be transparent not only with the members, but the public and this great council of the city of Atlanta.
Thank you. Time has expired.
And I will send you guys a proper notice using the right procedures. I got you.
Thank you.
All right.
Our next speaker is George Weedman IV. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, check, check. Hello, my name is George Weedman, a resident at the Landmark Condominiums, a condo tower in a residential zone that has been taken over by commercial short-term rental businesses. I was once again woken up this morning by renovation work happening, drilling in the walls to rearrange a nearby unit into a more profitable arrangement for those who are profiting grossly from a building whose infrastructure they are not paying back into. The short-term rental fee for our building was only $250 around a year ago, $250 a year. I don't know how good of an idea it would be to say the exact dollar amount they're expecting of me personally this month, but it is comically disproportionate. We have organized a very large and inspiring, actually, coalition of homeowners, and about 5 of them have shown up here to this meeting. We've gained media support, public support, fundraising, and made friends with some of the most powerful people in the state. And yet I want to point out how insane, how absolutely insane it is that us homeowners have had to do that we've had to take the time off of our work that we should be clocking in to pay these insane bills to make these public comments. At an October budget meeting, our HOA's treasurer told us to please not consider getting the state involved because that might put the building under receivership, and that if the building goes in receivership, we might pay $5,000 a month. Thing is, that's actually not too far off from what we're being billed anyway. I have also since been told that receivership really is not something that normal homeowners like me really have to fear compared to investors who own tens upon tens of other people's units through LLCs and shell companies. Oh, I guess I should clarify, those units belong to other people, not to be hoarded by rich people. When Ms. Bactriani was chewing out our property manager right to her face after last month's March 25th meeting, they sent the entire building an email implying legal threats against those speaking out against them to the media or the city. And by the city, that means you guys, the city council. I have a feeling that the people responsible for these hardships are going to be in big, big trouble soon, which is satisfying, but they will be trying to bring us down with them. Responsible homeowners who pay their dues on time every month are going to be targeted harder than ever by HOA retaliation, and we will be collectively documenting every single minute of what happens. Which is why I actually want to use the rest of my public comment time to tell a message to those who are watching or listening and aren't in the room with us. I'm speaking to anyone seeing this who has ever had a conflict with abusive HOAs or Airbnb hosts, and that is that you can make a difference. One of the best things I've done in my life is gotten involved with my local community to help improve a local political issue, and I learned that at the end of the day, all politics are local. Collectively, communities can collate evidence and spot contradictions, share stories together to narrow out individual biases and retaliation, and the prohibitively expensive legal fees required for justice are much more manageable when split up between an entire community. We're entering into an alarming period of lawlessness in America. But when it comes to normal people going up against greedy, weirdo, middle-class investors who think they're petty kings, there's more of us than they are of them, and they can't stop us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Fern T. Scott. You'll have 3 minutes.
Mr. President, I did not come prepared to speak today. I had planned to yield my time, but since that is not an option today, I just want to quickly say that I own at the Landmark, and I have a relative that lives at the Landmark in my unit, an older woman. And over the last couple of weeks, we have received at least 6 notices from the unlicensed property manager regarding deferred payment options for seniors. I'm very fearful that some of the seniors in the building might fall for this. Deferred payment offers from an HOA, especially when targeting seniors, can absolutely be a setup for property grabs if not structured properly. So let's just walk through this real quickly, how a deferred payment can become a trap. In general, when an HOA offers seniors the option to defer paying dues, special assessments, or fines, here's what could happen. Debt accumulation. The deferred amounts keep piling up with interest or late fees quietly accruing. A lien on the property. Under Georgia law and most HOA declarations, if a homeowner owes dues or assessments, the HOA has an automatic lien on the property. Foreclosure risk. If the senior falls too far behind, the HOA can foreclose on the lien and take the property, even for relatively small debts. Offering deferred payments to seniors can absolutely be a hidden strategy to set up future foreclosures and take their units later. Those schemes have been used frequently in the HOA world. So I am just asking the council to please take action on the issues that we have brought forth from the Landmark, not only to protect the other homeowners in the building, but most especially the senior citizens. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Henry Jordan. You have 3 minutes.
Giving honor to the Spirit of God, everyone that's here, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever, amen. Romans 1st chapter 25th verse. When they followed the lie, they began to walk in conformity to the lie. When you promote a lie, then Jesus' true blessing of truth is rejected. When we help James with lie, then we ask for death. And Ahab said to Elijah, "Hast thou found me, O my enemy?" And he answered, I have found thee because thou hast sold thyself to work evil in the sight of the Lord. 1 Kings 23, chapter 21st verse. God let you know of your ways that will lead to destruction. James Swift, my children, the church, the government, and others have sold yourself to work evil. Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devil also believe and tremble. James 2nd chapter, 19th verse. The reference to faith, one God, probably alludes to Israel's great creedal statement of Deuteronomy 6 chapter 4th verse. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. If the devil believe and tremble, what about James Swift and others? You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. 1 John 4 chapter 4th verse. Christ indwell believers. Satan likewise the Lord of his own followers. But Christ is greater than he who wreaks havoc in the world. Satan looks powerful, but Jesus' power is greater. We thank God for his power of justice he promote in us, and love thy neighbor as thyself as promote in us. When you don't want those things, then you ask him for death. You ask him for destruction. Evil produces death. We got to resist the devil and ask for Christ to dwell in us and not our flesh. Flesh reapeth death.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Nancy Cheney. You have 3 minutes.
On September 27th, my home was destroyed by Hurricane Helene. My husband, son, who was 3 months at the time, dog, and I were trapped on the second floor of our home until 1 p.m. To call this experience traumatizing would be an understatement. In addition to devastating emotionally, this has been financially devastating as well, bringing us to the brink of bankruptcy. The City of Atlanta's lack of support in response to Hurricane Helene has been incredibly disappointing. I've been told there's a mayoral directive to expedite Hurricane Helene permits. We submitted for our permit on March 24th. It's now April 29th. On Friday, we learned our variance will be needed to elevate our home. We're elevating it because we live in a floodplain. The variance sets our permitting process back another 2 months at the personal expense of me of thousands of additional dollars. My question is, why was this just flagged after a month of waiting? Zoning's rule is also in direct contradiction with watershed's rule. Why is there not a precedent? There's dozens of homes in my neighborhood elevated that were not required to take this variance. I've raised them and they were, quote, missed. Why is there no accountability? Also, we've continued to have nothing but issues in our permitting process, from zoning to arborists to watershed. The city has not done anything to help us since the flood. They have not even come out to assess our property as mandated in participation with the National Flood Insurance Program. But in true fashion, they quickly caught my non-permitted tree activities and assessed us $5,500 in fees. I'm sorry, but I do think my son's life and not being hit by a tree should take precedent over a couple of pine trees. These are just a few of my stories. I can share countless stories from neighbors and other flood victims, citing example after example of the city making our rebuilding process unnecessarily more difficult. I know several people that have foregone obtaining permits altogether because they can't get the city to act. I also know the city is not enforcing standards of the National Flood Insurance Program, and they should be granting, and they are granting permits to homeowners that are not mitigating risk appropriately. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I've spoken with Stephen Clark at GEMA, Georgia's branch of FEMA, and he shared there are federal grants available for flood rebuilding in Georgia if the city elects to participate. As far as I know, the city is electively not participating in these, which is beyond my scope of understanding. I'm at a loss to why the city is penalizing flood victims who are trying to do the right thing, rebuilding homes safely, and simply trying to protect our families and future homeowners. My ask of this committee: 1, why is code being selectively enforced? 2, why is there not a process to swiftly govern when 2 codes are in direct violation of one another? 3, why does Atlanta seemingly value trees over the resident safety? 4, why is Atlanta not offering FEMA grants that are available to our residents? 5, why is the city not enforcing the National Flood Insurance Program's requirements? And lastly, and most importantly from my vantage, what is the city doing to help hurricane victims? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We will have somebody from the planning department later in our agenda if you want to hang around, or if not, we can get you some contact information to contact someone directly.
I've been in touch. I keep going round and round in circles, which is why I'm here.
Okay, well, one of our councilmen will give you our contact information. I'm not familiar with your case, but we'll try to dive into it. Our next speaker is Dalil Anthony. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Dalil Anthony, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Tree Next Door, as well as the other members of the Tree Caucus of that Tree Preservation Working Group, which collaborated last year on a new tree preservation ordinance. I understand that there is going to be a work session this Thursday. We are all very anxious to see the new tree ordinance. We understand it's being rewritten. The reason I'm here today is just to reiterate that there were 5 big gaps in the last ordinance, and those gaps resulted in more trees coming down, fewer preserved, and fewer trees being replanted, which essentially made it worse than the current ordinance. We can't go backwards. We have to go forwards. Now, I know that there's a lot of debate and controversy over what's the best preservation standard. I do have some concerns personally about the preservation standard that's in the draft you all released in January, just because implementing it is going to be a rather Herculean task. And it's also going to require you guys to take money out of the tree planting fund in order to pay for additional staff to implement a preservation standard that we're not absolutely sure is even going to work. So that is kind of a big if that's out there. It's kind of like a cloud. And what I'm concerned about is that if this tree ordinance goes through with any one of those 5 gaps unclosed, then it's guaranteed that the new tree preservation ordinance will be worse than what we currently have. Let's not go backwards. Let's make sure that whatever we do, we go forward and we come up with something better. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Nikki Buggs. Nikki, is it Biggs or Bugs? Oh. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi. All right. The issues at the Landmark condominium reflect systematic financial mismanagement, breaches of fiduciary responsibilities, fabrication, fraudulent activities, acute conflicts of interest. And when we say acute, they're malignant. Flagrant violations of homeowners' investments and property rights, degrading qualities of life entitlement as human beings, and the right to live in peace. So having said that, let's think about when you first purchased your home or your family first purchased your home. And let's say that I moved into your building and I loved your building. I actually loved your house. So I decided to go in and purchase houses in your area. But I did ask, is your house available? No, this house is not available, but the other ones are. So I purchased them up. So then I turned and I decided that I just cannot stop coveting your home. So as a result, I figure out a way of telling you I need the keys. I get on the board and I need a copy of your keys because it's an emergency. If an emergency happens, I can get into your unit. You decline, so I get an off-duty officer and a locksmith, and I pluck your locks out of your door, and I change the locks. After that, I'm so annoyed with you that I give you fines, $250. They increase every time. Anytime you look at me wrong, say something wrong, $250 fine. I changed the system in that community. So now you have a difficult time getting into your community that you pay HOAs for. Not only that, if you upset me, then I go ahead and dismantle your access. So now you can't get into your own home. Not only that, I take away the storage, the common spaces, the areas. So now you have no common space, but you were paying HOAs over $1,300 a month for gas, a double billing of water, and electricity. You get nothing else. You get no concierge. You don't have a place to park. Your visitors have no place to park. We are in the Landmark condominium. We've been asking for help for a lengthy amount of time. And unfortunately, this has gotten worse. These people have not been stopped. And at this point, they've run amok. And we continue to say the same story over and over again. This weekend, when we had Easter, we had students pressing buttons. We have doorbell cameras. We have cameras in our units now. We have doorbell cameras on our doors now. We never had that because of our concerns. And we download that footage. The people that came and spoke to you on March 25th gave you a wonderful list of beautiful things that they did, which were completely the opposite and abusive. So now we're being watched by Big Brother. We don't have concierge, we don't have security. That's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Laura Clemens. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Clemens, and I'm here on behalf of AMSTRA, and that is Atlanta Metro Short-Term Rental Alliance. I'm speaking on behalf of hundreds of members. Overall, we feel that the ordinance is good, and we're excited that hopefully this year we will have a short-term rental ordinance in place in Atlanta. There are a few things that we feel that need looked at a little bit more in detail, and just in classifying those, the grandfathering rule, the distance requirement, the multifamily part, the insurance requirement of host, and the increase in the license or permit. So those are the topics that we would like to see further discussion on, and hopefully maybe pivot a little bit. Otherwise, we think that we're close to having an ordinance in Atlanta. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And our last speaker for today is Matthew Nursey.
Thank you, committee. My name is Matthew Nursey. I am an organizer and a policy advocate with the Housing Justice League, and I'm here speaking on behalf of HJL. I want to make it clear that my comments are not representative of the views of the Justice for Cornelius Coalition, but Housing Justice League alone. And that's why I'm here today, is to see the report, the 45-day report on the task force. And I just wanted to voice some frustrations with the way the task force has kind of played out. In the beginning, when the task force was initially created, which we are very appreciative of, we were concerned with, A, the amount of groups that would be involved, and B, who some of those stakeholders actually were. Some of them we don't feel represent the interests of tenants or the unhoused. And so basically, my biggest frustration is that these particularly subcommittee meetings have been, to put it most diplomatically, very highly organized and very, very overly structured. There has not been a lot of room, in my opinion, for constructive criticism, for adding items onto the agenda. The conversations have been, pretty well organized by the facilitators. And any, and this is just from my view, any attempt to provide constructive criticism, to be creative and bold, is met as hostility and as us being confrontational, and that has not been appreciated. And it's gotten to the point where, Housing Justice League is wondering if this task force is even really worth our time. We have presented a transitional housing pilot program funding plan to the mayor, and I would love to provide that funding plan for y'all as well. That would take Old Wheat Street and do a pilot for transitional housing with wraparound services, and eventually move on to permanent and stable housing, and hopefully we can use that model around the city. It costs just a fraction of what the Melody costs, but it's the same idea, transitional housing on the property adjacent to Old Wheat Street, and then using that model around the city. Yeah, and I've been attending some of the alternative solutions subcommittee meetings, and I've been very frustrated that we've been focusing on shelters and not really talking about the real fix, which is social housing. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone that signed up for public comment today. This does take us to our next agenda item. We do have two presentations on our agenda today. However, colleagues, we do have two people here for communication, so if there's no objection, I'd like to take those two communications, then we'll jump into our presentations.
Section H, Communications, 25C0051, a communication from Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet, District 11, reappointing Ms. Jacqueline Sims to serve as a member of the Commission on Aging. This appointment is for a term of 4 years to begin retroactively on October 1st, 2022, and expire September 30th, 2026.
Thank you, and I understand Ms. Sims is here, and if you don't mind coming to the podium and just telling us why you're interested in continuing serving on this commission.
Thank you. I am appointed for District 11. I have been on the commission for about 6 years during the COVID, during the COVID shutdown and everything. And I view the commission as a library of helpful resources for senior citizens and others. I've heard several comments today about senior citizens here. We advocate for social concerns, justice, fair treatments, voting rights, education, and technology updates for the seniors. We are a voice and service for seniors. We work to inform our seniors of services for a better quality of life and for safe environments, and even in better health, how the seniors should take care of themselves. Within the commission, we have several committees that we work with, helping with seniors with transportation and housing, safety education, awareness, and quality of life. We are constantly seeking ways to disseminate or get information out to our seniors for their help. We seek all seniors in the city of Atlanta, whether they're in a home, high-rise, assisted living, or any other, facility there are. I consider us as a helping hand for the seniors. We have a great number with our people on the committee. I think it's a very good mix. And I would like to, and we are very supportive by the mayor's office through Ms. Andaria Bishop. I would like to continue my participation and work with the group and to help seniors in any way that they can. And I would like to just make a comment. A lot of the seniors' issues that we try to address concerns, homeowners, people within the high rise. But I was looking at one of your amendments to about the trees. A lot of our seniors that we are talking with or whatever, they're having problems with trees, and I think it was that section 25-1099, an ordinance to help assistance with tree removal or prunings for seniors. We're having a lot of seniors to express that. And again, I've enjoyed working with the commission, and I'd like to continue to do it.
Thank you. We got a motion to approve by Westmoreland. It's been properly seconded by Councilmember Dozier. If you can please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you, Ms. Sims, and thank you for continuing to serve.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 4, 25C0052, a communication from Sagar Jones, President, Atlanta Planning Advisory Board, submitting the reappointment of Ms. Corrine Dent to serve as a member of the Atlanta Beltline Tax Allocation District Advisory Committee. This appointment is for a term of 2 years.
Thank you. Ms. Dent? If you don't mind coming to the podium and telling us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in serving on this advisory committee.
Sure. So my name is Ms. Dent, and currently I am the president of Southside Concerned Citizens Community Association, which sits a little ways away from the Beltline over in Southeast Atlanta. So when I first got the invitation for this appointment a couple years ago, my interest was because I felt like the Beltline was so big that it would inadvertently affect all of the communities within the city of Atlanta. And that is now true. It was true then, but it's more so true now, especially with the implementation of trails coming and those trails connecting to the Beltline. So I see myself as an advocate for the people, serving on the TADAC, asking for the transparency of information so that everyone can understand how the Beltline is affecting their communities and what they can do to be prepared for those effects.
Thank you so much. We have a motion to approve by Westmoreland, second by Bakhtiari. If you can please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you, Ms. Dent. We appreciate your continued service on this committee.
Thank you.
All right, take care. So this does take us back to the presentation section of our agenda. We do have two presentations today. Our first is the Atlanta Convention and Visitor Bureau Quarterly Update. And we'll welcome up President and CEO, Mr. William Pate.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of the council. I'm going to give you a quick update on our convention business. And then Dan Corso is with me here, the president of the Sports Council. He's going to give you an update on World Cup, our World Cup planning. Just again about the ACVB, our job is to bring more people here into the city. I always tell people, if you think about Atlanta as a shopping mall, our job is to get everybody here to the shopping mall. And then everybody gets them into their stores as their business allows. We just got our 2024 numbers in. We welcomed 51 million visitors metro-wide, 310,000 jobs that are supported by hospitality in Metro Atlanta, and we set a record $20 billion in visitor spending. This is just a look at the largest conventions, which our nomenclature is 5,000. They have 5,000 hotel rooms or more on the peak night. Those are the largest conventions in the country. And there you can see, don't worry about the color dimensions. That's how we pay our salespeople. But you can see the numbers at the bottom, and you can see where we try to get 20 citywides every year. You can see 16 is 2027 is the 1 year that we're a little short, although I would tell you that 2 of the conventions in 2027 used to be 5,000 and above, and they've just fallen below to about 4,200 to 4,500 on peak. So they don't officially go on this chart, but still really strong business. But we've got to continue to do some work, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the work that we're working on. For those of you who were at our annual meeting last week, you know, one of the things I talked to you all in the press about is we've got some headwinds, and we really haven't had to face a lot of headwinds recently coming out of COVID. One is that even though conventions still want to come to Atlanta, which is great, they love coming to the city, but convention attendance per convention is trending downward. And some of that's driven by the economy, some of that's driven by associations that are still recovering coming out of COVID. But nonetheless, that is a downward trend. So we have to work harder in order to maintain the visitation that we have. Obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty about the economy. I'm sure you're hearing that from everybody. That affects us as well, especially business travel. So when you think about Buckhead particularly, where a lot of our business transient travel goes, there's a lot of uncertainty and concern about where business travel is going to head this year. And then the impact on tariffs on international travel is still sort of being understood. I can tell you that the recent international research shows that inbound travel from Canada is down 25%. Luckily, we're not a border state. They're the ones who have felt the brunt of it first, although Canada is one of our top inbound international markets. Our largest conventions see about 20 to 25% international travel to the city for those conventions. So that is something that we're very concerned about and obviously watching. And then I don't know if you all are aware, probably wouldn't be, but we have a international marketing organization called Brand USA that's funded by Visa, $10 on visas. President Trump fired 5 of the board members on Friday. He's replacing those board members, so we've got some upheaval at the national level on our tourism as well. So to kind of size up the business for you, talk to you a little bit about how we're going to get more business here. There are about 200 of the largest conventions in the country. About 180 of those travel around in different parts of the U.S. Some of those are geographically confined. There are about 83 of those conventions that are available to come to Atlanta. And of those 83 conventions, and this is how they kind of break down, of the largest conventions, there are about 83 that are available to us. And then the next tier down, sort of mid-market conventions, there are about 172 that are available. So if you kind of go through as you're building your business, we think there's really great opportunity in this mid-market. And the reason is we're already the 5th number 5 convention city in the country. So we already get a lot of large convention traffic here. And there's only so much Congress Center and so much city that we can sell. However, we're 12th in mid-market conventions. So we think there's a lot of upside there. And that's one of the areas that we're going to attack. So just to break this down for you, when you look at those 83 conventions, you can see on the top line, the ones we've already got booked. We've got conventions that have been here in the last 7 years but haven't rebooked. We've got some that have been here for the last 7 years or haven't been here more than 7 years. And then we've got 25 that have never even been here. So we've got strategies against each of those strata to try and capture just small pieces of the market. And as you think about it, if we can get, one on line 2 and one on line 3 and one on line 4, that's 3 additional conventions that we could get in the city. So that's kind of how we're thinking about the business. Then when you look at the midsize, you can see the opportunity is even greater. We got 84 of that 172, almost half, that have never been here. And another 41 that haven't been here in at least 7 years. So there's a lot, we feel there's a lot of upside opportunity, and I'm going to tell you how we're going to try to take advantage particularly on that. What we've done with the Georgia World Congress Center is sort of mapped out what I would call the occupancy of the center. The dark green lines are conventions that are already booked where the entire convention center is sold out. The light green are weeks where there's either 1 or 0 buildings that are booked. So if you look in August, that's really the only week where we could put another large convention in. So there's not a ton of large convention upside in a lot of our years. And this is just how the numbers go out. 75% is sort of what we think is peak occupancy when you think about conventions moving in, conventions moving out. 75% is sort of the peak that we want to get to. And so as you see, in some of those years, we've still got some opportunity. And we're going to fill that opportunity with those medium-sized conventions that I was talking about. And so by bringing those in, we can go around the edges of the convention center those weeks when we're not completely full. We can put some smaller conventions in there, drives more hotel room nights, puts more compression on the city, which then drives more of the higher end business traffic out to Buckhead and to Midtown. So we feel really good about this. We feel so good about this that we've raised our sales goal by 25%. And our first quarter numbers, we beat that goal by 15%. So again, people want to come here. We're working on some folks who haven't been here in a while, so we're breaking some new ground here. But we feel really optimistic that 25 is going to, even with the headwinds, 25 is going to end up to be at least as good as 24, which was record-breaking in spending. And we feel like we've got a really great opportunity ahead of us. Just one little thing about Michelin. As you know, we're a Michelin city. We had our second year of Michelin. We've now got 48 recommended and Bib Gourmand restaurants, 4 that received special awards and 2 that received green stars. And we had 9, we used to have 5, we got up to 9 one-star restaurants. So what we're seeing on this is we really have raised the profile of restaurants across the city. The restaurants that are on the Michelin Guide are seeing a 30 to 40% lift in business, but even restaurants that aren't on the guide are seeing a 10 to 12% increase in their business. So I think what we're doing effectively is really getting the dialogue started about people going back out, getting out of their house, going back and dining, taking advantage of the great restaurants that we have here in the city. So with that, I'm going to have Dan is going to talk to you about the World Cup, and then we'll take any questions that you have.
Thank you, William. Good afternoon, council members. Nice to be with you again. As William mentioned, the Atlanta Sports Council, I have the opportunity to lead the organization. Our responsibility is to recruit sporting events to the city of Atlanta, much like William does with the conventions. Our role is to recruit sporting events, and it's all about visitation and driving economic impact to the region. There is one event that is currently 412 days away, and we are counting, and that is the FIFA World Cup. In 2026, June 15th is our first match. And some historical context, this is really the only event that Atlanta has not yet hosted. We've had Super Bowls and men's Final Fours and women's Final Fours and the Olympic Games, the CFP College Football Championships, but we've not had FIFA World Cup. The last time this event was in the U.S. for the Men's World Cup was in 1994, and Atlanta was not a host city as we were preparing for the 96 Olympics. So just a little refresher here. We do have 8 matches secured for the World Cup here in Atlanta in 2026. 5 of those are in the group stage. I will show you the schedule here in a moment. Then we have a round of 32, a round of 16, and then a semifinal match. We did want to try to get the final match, but we were not successful in that. FIFA has a requirement that stadiums hosting the final match have a minimum capacity of 80,000, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium just misses that by a little bit. We tried to find some extra seats in there, we just couldn't quite get there. But that is going to New York City, and we are proud to have a semifinal match on July 15th, and I'll show you that schedule. Obviously, as William pointed out in his presentation, when you have visitors coming in from other parts of the country or perhaps other parts of the world, it does drive visitation, which drives economic impact. And I know the Metro Atlanta Chamber has done an initial study of the World Cup and estimated that it would bring a $500 million economic impact to the region and to the state. So quite a bit of money coming through. If you tuned in 2022, the World Cup in Qatar, you were one of 5 billion people that tuned in. It is a very popular sport around the world and highly visible, both on broadcast and digital media. So obviously, a lot of people pay attention to it. It's a very popular sport, and that number is actually about 50% of the world's population watched the World Cup. So a lot of eyeballs as we look ahead. This is a full schedule of the tournament. It begins on June 11th in Los Angeles and will end in New York, as I mentioned, on July 19th. There are 104 total matches in the World Cup. Over 16 cities are hosting matches. We are one of those 16. So you can see the begins on June 11th. The dates in red are the dates that Atlanta will hold our matches. So in our group stage, we have 5 beginning on June 15th, and then every 3 days through the 27th, we will have a match at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Then, as I mentioned, we get into the knockout round, which is basically when the teams kind of play their way through the tournament, and then you you work your way to the final match. So we have a knockout round of 32, a round of 16, and then the semifinal, as I mentioned, on July 15th. The broadcast times have not yet been announced by FIFA. The broadcast partners around the world and here in the U.S. are Fox Television and Telemundo. The windows we have heard, though not official, are noon, 4 p.m., 6 p.m., and 9 p.m. kickoff times Eastern. So with those matches that you see in red will fall somewhere in those time periods that I mentioned. That schedule will be announced this December when FIFA does the draw. The tournament draws, if you've seen the NCAA bracket where they slot all the teams in the bracket, that's what FIFA does with this. It's a qualifying system. We don't know which countries are coming to our city until December, but that's when the real planning begins. And that's the opportunity, I think, for your districts and the communities and the people within your districts and communities to have some part of hosting the World Cup is when we identify which countries are coming in. You can then potentially tailor your messaging and your marketing to those countries and those visitors. If you have restaurants or bars If you have outdoor parks and you want to do a food festival of some sort, something to really tie in your community to those visitors specific to the country that they're coming in and tie a thematic to that country, we would encourage that. That's an opportunity. William mentioned on his slide the future and the citywide conventions. You saw how many there were. Quite a few of those are sporting events, and this is the list coming up in the next several years. This summer, we do have a FIFA Club World Cup, which is different than the World Cup. It is owned by FIFA and operated by FIFA, but it's something that is a first-year event. We'll have 6 matches at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as part of the FIFA Club World Cup. We then have more soccer, if you do like soccer, with the English Premier League Summer Series on August 3rd. It's a doubleheader at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We do have the MLB All-Star Game up in Cobb County, Metro Atlanta. For the 3rd time, we'll be hosting the All-Star Game here in Metro Atlanta. And then another Super Bowl in 2028, and then a men's Final Four in 2031. And we're actively pursuing other events to fill in those gaps and beyond 2031. So I'll just close by saying, we have things in place working closely with FIFA about venues and locations that they'd like to activate in. A lot of it's operational base, where their production trucks will be held, where their transportation systems will be. We're working with Centennial Olympic Park about doing a fan fest, a centralized free to the public fan fest during the tournament in COP. Which is obviously the venue where we've hosted most of our big sporting events with our public fan fest in the park. It's also a legacy back to the 96 games. So we like that 30-year bookend. When the teams are announced and the countries are announced for each city this December is when the real fun begins. As I mentioned, is when you could really begin to tailor what your communities would like to do with those visitors coming in, working directly with the city of Atlanta, working directly with Showcase Atlanta. So thank you for the time and appreciate the opportunity to give you an update.
All right, appreciate you both for the update today. We'll start taking questions from council members. First up in the queue, we have Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you both for coming today. I know y'all are very busy. It was great seeing y'all last week at the annual lunch. It was also great to see one of my constituents, the Spelman Knight, get celebrated at the event as well.
She was the star of the show.
Yes, she was. Yes, she was. A couple of questions. I guess, firstly for you, Dan, I know, I'll just say, just comment-wise, I too am very deeply concerned about just the upheaval in the tourism market here to the United States, both from a value standpoint. I know it's alarming to see or hear about some of the experiences that some of our international visitors are having, both being detained at different border detention facilities, being deported when they have visas, or trying to, visit our country in a way that they've always done, and there's just been such a upheaval there, and you see that in the data that you shared before about international visitorship. In the discussions, at least that I'm hearing around potential implications for events like the FIFA World Cup, I know that we're co-hosting the World Cup with Canada and Mexico, and I've seen at least rumblings that potentially FIFA might potentially remove the U.S. from that equation because of that upheaval. How real is that possibility that we could be excluded based on some of the challenges that international visitors have been having over the last 100 days?
All of the U.S. excluded?
Well, potentially from the World Cup, from that partnership with, because it's North America, so yes. Potentially the U.S. could be excluded from that because of that. Is what I'm hearing.
Highly unlikely. With 112 days to go, I mean, we've been working on this with FIFA, the cities of the U.S., 11 U.S. cities with FIFA for 2 to 3 years now, and we're still making progress in the planning. If they were to kind of upheave and remove all of the U.S. cities out of that equation, I find that impossible.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yes.
One thing I was curious about too with the upcoming events that are happening, sports events that are happening over the next few years. I know for the FIFA World Cup, for the final, there's some requirements for stadium capacity, like you said before. How possible is it that for the Women's World Cup, that could be, I know the U.S. has a bid out for hosting, or I don't know if it's a in collaboration with Mexico and Canada. Again, I'm not sure about that, but if the U.S. were selected, would Atlanta potentially be a host city for the final?
Yes, sir, good question. On that list, I said 2031 men's Final Four, and then I think I closed with, we have other events that we're looking at for either at that year or past that year. That is one of the events. It has not yet started, but the U.S. Soccer Federation, which is now calling Atlanta home, has put into FIFA that they would like to put in a bid to host that event. The process is, well, U.S. Soccer will need to be compliant with FIFA as to the regulations, and then U.S. Soccer will approach cities to be a part of that process. So we have expressed to U.S. Soccer that we would like to have that conversation with them as a host city. We have not yet gotten any farther than that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then for William, I appreciate what you share as far as like the Michelin relationship that we've been cultivating, and it's great seeing some of our local businesses not only be celebrated, but also be promoted through that sort of acknowledgement. I forgot the official terminology for when a restaurant gets a Michelin star, but being in that echelon is a big deal. It reminds me of, we had this conversation briefly, but just to remind everyone, the City of Atlanta just launched a legacy business program earlier this month, Atlanta Local Legacy. I would love to see legacy businesses be included in that promotion through ACVB. When people come visit Atlanta, we want them to have an authentic Atlanta experience, and what better way to do that than to visit restaurants or spend money in businesses that have contributed so much to our city's history and culture. And so I don't know if there's been a direct conversation with Invest Atlanta moving forward now that we've launched that program, but that's something I would love to see ACVB lean into as people touch down in Atlanta, whether it's at the airport or whether it's at the Amtrak station or whether it's on Greyhound. We'll love them to know where they find that authentic Atlanta experience, if there's a way to partner with.
So I'm going to say, because I don't know about it, that we aren't having a direct conversation with Invest Atlanta. If there is it's simply stated a list of those legacy businesses or things, we would love to have that. We can incorporate it in our website and all of our communications. So we'd love to do that. So, I mean, I guess I could reach out to head of Invest Atlanta.
Absolutely, and I'm happy to connect that for those dots for you as well.
Yeah.
We actually, they launched a website and a web app that not only has a listing of those legacy businesses, but also has a map of those legacy businesses. So there might be.
We have, I think I've told you before, we have a relationship with the Atlanta Business League to ensure that, but you have to be a member of the Atlanta Business League. But they're minority businesses. We take their list and we distribute it out to conventions and sports groups and people who are looking to work with minority vendors. So be very happy to close that loop.
That'll be great. Thank you both so much. And I know y'all got a million things going on, and so I appreciate y'all taking time to come down to City Hall.
Maybe we got one more.
Yep, we got one more. We have been joined by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond, and next we have Councilmember Bakhtiari in the queue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you guys, as always, for coming and speaking with us. Before I start, I wanted to give, because Councilmember Dozier talked about the Legacy Business Program, I really want to give him kudos for that again. He's not listening to me, he's busy. Should I just stare at him until he's done?
You should, yes.
Calling you out.
I was complimenting you, sir.
He doesn't want accolades. That's it. He doesn't like accolades.
So much for complimenting you. Go back to what you were doing. I'm giving you a shout out for the Legacy Business Program, because that was your brainchild that you worked on for such a long time. And I believe they will have the opportunity to benefit from this incredible investment. I wanted to ask, obviously you had Councilmember Dozier ask his policy questions, and in detail, I was going to ask, kind of curious on just some of the broader pieces. You kind of alluded to it, but how have the conversations been going with federal partners? I know you named the piece about the board, William, but like
on federal travel partners? So
yes,
we have a handful of them.
Okay.
To be honest, Brand USA, which is the marketing arm nationally, is a little in upheaval right now.
This is the one you were mentioning about the board members that have been removed and are getting replaced?
Yes, those board, yes. I think they have 10 board members. Half of them were removed on Friday. You can look that up if you want at Brand USA, but as well as the chairman. And so they're in a little bit of upheaval. We also have the U.S. Travel Association, which is the group that advocates for the industry to the federal government. They're working on visa issues, particularly when you think about the World Cup. We've got some countries, we have visa situations in some countries where it takes almost 300 days to get a visa. So even if you knew your country was coming to Atlanta, if you've waited too long, you wouldn't be able to get a visa in time. So U.S. Travel is particularly working on that issue, and also working as much as they can to sort of mitigate and soften some of the issues that we're having with Canada and Mexico. And so they're our voice in Washington, and so they work on legislative issues like that.
Thank you for that. I was curious because, I mean, obviously with this going, and you alluded to the piece about the visas, obviously things are very turbulent right now. We don't know how they're going to look a year from now. And my concern is people being able to get into the country, to spend money here, to be able to invest in this, as well as I'm curious if all the players are going to be able to travel here without issue. And you had mentioned about the Metro Chamber doing their analysis. Was that before or after the presidential election?
That was just before.
Okay.
Yes.
Do we have, is there going to be a reassessment just because we know so many factors have changed?
We'll reassess after the countries are announced in December.
Okay, in December.
Gives us a better idea.
Yes, okay. I was curious
As I
because.
said, the experience, the World Cup experience, if you get Argentina and Brazil, is different than if you get Madagascar and Switzerland, right? And so a lot of it depends on the countries that we end up getting in the mix. That will have some impact on the travel, and then therefore all the political issues we talked about, and ultimately the financial.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this but given the impact that it will have on this, I'm happy to hear there will be.
Don't worry, it's top of mind.
And so I would love to, I mean, we'll see in December because I'm curious to look at the before and after of the analysis before versus our reality now. And I was curious, I mean, Councilmember Dozier talked about some of the infrastructure, more of the details. Are we looking at how there will be transit to and from some of the hotels to these locations, to the Benz Stadium, just given that we know we are trying to catch downtown up, but it is going to be, it's a very tight timeline.
Yeah, sure. So that is where MARTA has been very active in trying to build up and be prepared, really having a path from the airport wherever we'll be coming into downtown. We're fortunate within our downtown hosting where we've got a MARTA station right next to the stadium, surrounded by 15,000 hotel rooms, right? So then we have a line into Buckhead and a line farther north. So we believe that's where the path will be. And then, we have a ride share program that we work on big sporting events in conjunction with the Georgia Will Congress Center campus and Mercedes-Benz Stadium and Atlanta Department of Transportation. So those organizations plan for these big events, and we'll use those plans for this and then adapt it as we, work with FIFA on it.
Understood. And I guess I'll have questions, Marta, about the bus redesign, how it could potentially impact things, or if we're
Yeah,
going to.
I think it's really important to think about MARTA.
Yeah.
If we get European countries, that's how they travel.
Yes,
And so we need to make sure,
on public transit.
yes, we need to make sure that,
Specifically rail.
yeah.
If you say that word 3 times fast, my entire district will flood this room. So thank you for that. Understandably, I guess I'm also concerned, and this is not less you all, but I'm also going to be asking Marta, and I'm saying this in case we have a representative or lobbyist in the room. I will be also following up with them about WAVE programs and how we're going to help some of those folks that are experiencing disability that are coming to the city. I believe right now we only have 1 taxi cab that's available, but I don't even know if it's still in service. So I will be following up and discussing those details, to your point about getting an idea of what transportation infrastructure is going to look like for this event, especially with federal funding going the way that it is. And I guess my last question was, we've spoken about this in the past when you were kind enough to come to the office and speak with me. Really boosting up the local businesses, would it be possible for you all or to send someone to come speak at some of our business association meetings just now so that they're going ahead and getting prepared?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I'll go ahead and reach out then and see what we can do to get that set up.
Yep.
Thank you.
We'd love to do that.
Yes.
We want to make sure everybody needs to participate in this event. This is a great opportunity for a lot of small businesses, as they did in the Olympics. You talk to so many people who say, oh, my business started, when the Olympics came here. We hope this is going to be the same kind of watershed event for a new set of businesses. So.
And
Happy to do that.
yes, and so I appreciate you all, and I think also as we're talking about, getting more people into downtown and everything else, this connection between our associations and downtown will help close, that could help close this gap. So I'm very excited for the conversation. Thank you both.
Thank you. And then I'll just jump in really quickly. A lot of questions that we get all the time is about Atlanta's readiness and preparedness for the event when it comes. We have the world's busiest, I would say, also the world's best airport. And a lot of the conversations that I've had with people is about other people traveling to Atlanta and using Atlanta as home base because you can get to 80% of the country in 2 hours. And so it's more than just the games that are going to be here. It's about folks coming here, using this as home base, and getting to other games as they find out where their home teams are going. Yeah. So I've already heard stories about some of our downtown hotels being already completely booked for next year, the World Cup. So how's our, housing stock, I would say, so to speak, in terms of like vacancies for hotels? Are we looking at alternatives? It's been a spicy conversation about short-term rentals here. What are you encouraging people to do if they're finding that it's hard to get hotel rooms downtown Atlanta?
Well, I think it's going to be a mosaic. So it's going to be, obviously, the downtown hotels will get filled up first. Mm-hmm. They're not all completely filled because we're still negotiating blocks for FIFA. So there's still some opportunity there. And then you, as is typical in our business, you're going to get the premium experience in Buckhead. Corporate people who are bringing customers in for the event, you're going to take them to the restaurants and things like that. And then you're going to get the economy stay on the outside, on the ring of the perimeter, people who will stay at a lower rate and Uber or taxi or whatever into the city. So that will be a very typical situation. And then, of course, we've got a lot of short-term rentals in the city. And certainly they will be, very active as well. And I know you all are looking at some additional legislation about, controls around short-term rentals and things like that. So it's going to be a mosaic. We're going to, it'll be bigger than the Super Bowl, but we should be able to handle the load. I'm not worried about being able to handle the load.
Okay.
But your point is right, but just to make that point about one of the unique things about Atlanta is we have nonstop flights to every single World Cup city. So if you're a Germany or somebody like that expects to get to the final and you end up in Atlanta in the first round, mm-hmm. It does make sense that you could end up housing here for a month and then just flying out to the different locations. So we do think we're going to get some additional boost there.
Okay. Well, good, because I know a lot of our conversations that we've had with our constituents is, and I think our mayor continues to say this, we want the World Cup to happen with us and not to us. And right. So just however we can encourage participation.
We're very tied into Showcase, which mm-hmm. I know is the mayor's initiative to ensure that the community benefits from everything that happens at World Cup. And so we're very connected. In fact, we'll probably have them come with us next time we come to speak to you all, just to give you an update on kind of what they're.
Okay. Well, sounds like we kind of have a self-imposed September deadline to kind of figure out who's coming. And then once we find that out, then we'll have a better idea of like how we can activate. Or December. Okay. So once we find that out, then we'll have a better idea how to activate certain parts of the city. So, Councilmember Boone.
Yes, thank you. We are so very excited. What is the plan for vending in the area for those small businesses that would like to sell T-shirts, hats? Is there a process? Has that started?
It will start through Showcase Atlanta, but we will have a radius around the stadium that will not be allowed, certain area because of security reasons. So it will be only for credentialed or ticketed people to come in and enjoy the area as they head into the stadium. But vending of that sort will not be allowed in that. Anywhere outside of that, I think, is to be determined. Correct.
So who would we talk with regarding that? Will you send us that information? Because I'm sure that folks in our community would love to know. Yes. If you all would email us that information, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions, comments from colleagues? Seeing none, William, Dan, thank you both for coming in for a great update. We appreciate it. So this takes us to our next presentation, which is the Homeless Task Force 45-day report. If you all remember, we had legislation 25-R 3086 that formed the task force, and so we're at the 45-day period. So we'll welcome up Chatika Ellison to be able to give us an update, and we'll take questions afterwards.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Using this the right way. So in today's presentation, I'll provide some background on the task force, update you all on what we've accomplished so far, and discuss what's next. So the homelessness task force was created to, one, examine the policies and procedures for addressing homelessness in Atlanta, and to look at the barriers and gaps in the overall ecosystem. The task force is comprised of 36 organizations, a diverse group that includes city departments, outreach teams, service providers, grassroots organizations, clergy, etc. We wanted to make sure that we could hear from people at all levels of intervention with unhoused individuals. We've had multiple meetings. We had a kickoff meeting, core meetings that included the full task force meeting in person. And for the subcommittee meetings, we had about 20 virtual meetings there. There are 4 subcommittees, which you see on the screen is the standard operating procedure and policy, where we are working on standardizing encampment closures and the decommissioning and outreach efforts. Medical and mental health, which we were providing oversight of medical and mental health needs for individuals experiencing homelessness. Prevention and diversion, where we're enhancing family reunification efforts and identifying some systematic barriers that individuals are facing, and alternative and emerging solutions, exploring emerging sheltering options and innovative housing strategies that don't already exist in Atlanta. So out of these subcommittees, we've gained a lot of insight into the ecosystem, and some of our key observations are as follows. The current homeless strategy lacks holistic oversight and coordination. Current shelter and emergency temporary housing options are inadequate. Insufficient resources throughout the ecosystem as a whole. An existing standard of procedures provides a solid foundation, but could benefit from some additional detail and partner feedback. So these are just some overall topics that we were able to pull from the individuals who are providing feedback in those meetings. So during the kickoff, we explained to the task force that one of our main focus was to look through an SOP and determine where the gaps in services and safety were. Some of the things that we pulled from that is looking at the way that we approach our outreach efforts and seeing if we could utilize existing service providers who already have built rapport with the community as we continue to go out and engage individuals. Find that we might have some more success with people accepting services if they actually know a person. And as well as helping them map encampment locations in coordination with those teams who are delivering the on-ground support. The other thing we wanted to do is planning and notification. We had people talking to us about them not knowing that the encampment closures were going to happen, even property owners. So we're going to increase signage. I know some of the outreach teams, along with signage, have gone out and physically handed out documents to people to explain to them about the decommissioning of the encampment and the resources that would be available, as well as ensuring some consistent and transparent communication prior to any site activity. So one of the main things that we also wanted to do when it comes to the SOP, you all should have received a draft copy, the preliminary draft that we have so far within this first 45 days. It is our hope that by the 90-day, we have a final document that can be approved by you all to be implemented with the city. So it's an enhanced day of safety procedures, which I think was very important to everybody who joined the task force. What we've decided on is a multi-step approach to ensuring the vacancy of structures, creating a sign-off sheet where we can actually, tangible sheet where we can check off and making sure that everybody has been cleared from the site and minimizing the usage of heavy machinery. So the first step in that multi-check is the visual confirmation, a final touch point, and this is after everybody is supposed to be cleared off of the site. So on the day of commissioning, just to ensure that no one is there, We're going to do a visual confirmation. The outreach teams will be accompanied by an APD officer, where they would go and do a knock check just to make sure that no one is in there and responding to it. APD would then tag that tent, which triggers the next step, notifying that this tent has been checked for a knock check and to come explore it further. Then we've talked with Fire Chief Smith to utilize the fire recruits to come in with the thermal sensors to confirm vacancy, where individuals don't have to go inside the tents for safety issues. We can see if there's anything in the tent with the thermal sensors. The next step is that we've discussed it with DPW and even some contractors that once, and these are all happening back to back, once the thermal sensor is checked and we determine that there's no one inside the tent, it will be decommissioned right there, meaning just taking it apart and not bringing in the heavy machinery and moving it to a different location to be picked up. Or if it's something that has, like a tent that has additional materials in the inside and can't easily be lifted, we would use a smaller skid steer machinery that can come and lift those up and take it to, again, a larger pile for them to be picked up by the heavy machinery, but it won't be on the actual encampment site. The fourth step would be the third visual confirmation, where DPW or a contractor accompanied by a spotter will go on to the encampment to clear out the larger trash with the other machinery that they have. And then we'll have a final sign-off from the mayor's office confirming that all of the prior steps have been completed. So what's next? Like I said, we've been meeting with this task force. I think it's been very beneficial. We're going to continue to meet with them for the next 45 days and refine our recommendations in preparation of the 90-day report. We plan to, moving forward, to host 2 additional core task force meetings. Again, that's where the full task force comes together to discuss what the other subcommittees have been doing. Each organization is not required to be on all of the subcommittees. They can choose which ones that suit their subject matter expertise best, and they can float between all of them. So this gives them an opportunity to learn what the other subcommittees are doing, and we'll continue to hold 4 weeks of subcommittee meetings, and the final report will be submitted in June to council. And like I said, we just want to continue engaging these groups as the conversations have grown and become more fruitful over time. The plan is to explore specific programs and strategies and their feasibility to be applied here in Atlanta. And again, at the sunset of this task force, we plan to present actionable recommendations to council, having first considered their feasibility, sustainability, and suitability to be implemented in Atlanta. I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to present on this task force. I believe it's been very beneficial to allow the various groups to provide feedback, input, and suggestions on solutions to move forward. This is just a start for me at creating a culture of more conversation and fostering more collaboration amongst all the entities who support this work. What I noticed in having these conversations is that a lot of them didn't know what resources were available that they could tap into. So I think it's definitely built a place where people can communicate with each other. And I don't anticipate that the conversations will end at the sunset of this task force. In order to better serve the homeless community, it will take ongoing coordination, willingness to learn and listen from all parties to really build a system that's sustainable and effective. And we don't want to just create safer decommissioning policies and procedures, but we want to provide the necessary services people need, not only just to move into a new home or shelter, but to grow, to build self-sufficiency and thrive in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. We'll now take questions from colleagues. So we'll start off with Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you. And I do first want to acknowledge the work that you have done in this field, and I know we've worked on other issues. You worked on 405 Cooper, Forest Cove. I want to acknowledge all that work. I do have a number of questions. My first one is, why weren't the 2 council members that oversee this area involved at all in these discussions so that we could have given you feedback on a lot of the work that you have discovered?
So I've had previous conversations with Councilman Winston about some of the.
He doesn't oversee this area. It'd be Councilmember Faroki and myself.
So he's the CDHS chair, and he, put this forward. So that's who I communicated with the most. But I have no issue within the next 45 days to incorporate you all and give you a full update on what we've been going through outside of this presentation, if you'd like to set up a meeting outside of this.
Well, I've been asking for help since my second month in office, so I have never gotten a response to those emails from this administration.
I haven't been on those.
No, you have not, but the deputy chief is sitting behind you. So I've been asking for help. I do believe this email was cited as a way to say that I requested the sweep that wasn't in my district, but again, not in my district. So, but I would like to know why the emails asking for help, many of the things that you cited here for years now, have never been answered. And I'm more than happy to provide copies of those.
Good
emails.
afternoon, Mr. Chair, and members of the committee. Theo Pace, Deputy Chief of Staff. This legislation came before the Atlanta City Council. There were, I believe, if I'm correct, 33 organizations that were included. The council representative on this committee is the CDHS chair. I believe if there was an opportunity, if other members of the committee wanted to be included in the meeting, they could have amended the legislation to add themselves. This administration has not tried to hold back any members participating in any of these meetings. More than welcome to attend. So if there's an opportunity that you wanted to serve on the committee, you could have amended the legislation to add yourself and/or Councilmember Faroki. The legislation overall and the work that the task force is doing is not just located in your district, but citywide. And so we're really trying to work to provide a holistic and global approach to be more responsive.
Okay, thank you. The pieces that you cited as terms of the operations, the special, this does to me is not very different from what we already have. So what are the changes here? And I do know that all of our special ops money is currently being spent on lighter equipment, which is good to hear. Unfortunately, it shouldn't have taken this occurrence for that to happen, but I do want to understand how the operating procedures are different from what we already have that caused this incident to take place in the first place.
So everything that I read to you was increased. So that previous outreach teams they were going out and doing their last check on the last day, but being accompanied by APD, that is something that's new that's been discussed, and actually tagging the tent so everybody has a visual that this tent has been checked. So it's about making sure that everybody's not just doing their job, but we're all working in tandem together so we can make sure that there are no gaps in checking those tents for vacancy. So that's why it'll be tagged. And then right behind, we won't leave it to where someone says this tent is tagged and someone comes in later. Fire is going to be right behind them. This is back to back to back and what's happening. So fire has not been included in this at all, especially utilizing the heat sensors where other people have been had some issues with concerns with safety and going in the actual tent.
I see.
But this is an opportunity for us to see with the heat sensors, to see if there's anyone in them, as well as actually decommissioning the tents by hand. That is absolutely new as well. Some of them are tents. Some of them are actual structures, so it'll take a little bit more time to actually see who is in there, what's in there, or not, but that is actually new as well. Also, taking some of those structures, if they can be, by hand to a pile to the side that they can then be used for the heavy machinery. So with all those checks, we will be able to verify that there's no one in the tents.
Okay.
So that increases the safety there.
Understood. When you were going through and dismantling, because last time my understanding was on the Wheat Street, that there was the last touch before the encampment was cleared was 4 days prior. So we're talking all of this immediately happening in tandem, day of. So we're not like.
Site, yes. So
Okay.
yes, in previous times, outreach teams, they go in, they check, and it's, everybody's moved into either sheltering options or the permanent housing solutions that were already offered to individuals. But there are cases where people can come back to the sites if it's not cleaned immediately, or people that come on that day that are not on the current by name list are set up to receive resources that will need to receive it on day of.
Got it.
So this is also a new practice of day of, we're going back through, even though you checked yesterday, to make sure that no one is on the site before we start to clean.
Okay, and again, that's good to hear, and my understanding is that special ops money currently under DPW is being spent on lighter equipment, so that heavy equipment will not be used to the point that you said about it being carried out to a larger area.
Yes.
And that, okay, thank you.
Until the site is completely, all the structures are off, then we feel comfortable with the heavy machinery to make sure that we can clear it safer.
Thank you. And this question is actually directed to the administration, to Deputy Chief here. I'm just curious, why did it take this incident for this level of care to be administered in one of the most chronic areas where we experience homelessness and poverty?
What I would say is that the administration, with the number of departments, working with our Partners for Home and the other organizations, this was an unfortunate incident, accident that occurred. It was not intentional. I was out there the day that it occurred afterwards. The equipment operator was very shaken up. And we are looking to change the ways that we operate within our standard operating procedures. So you'll see a much more expansive response from the various departments to ensure that incidents like this don't happen again. And I just want to clarify, I did go back and look through my emails. I have not received an email from you since this task force.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago that I sent the initial email, but thank you. In terms of the task force, I was deferring to the operating arm of the city, as has been stated to me many times, and so I was showing deference, and I did not know I was welcome at meetings, so I'm more than happy to partake moving forward, because I think there is a lot that can be done that can limit duplicative efforts and operating in silos. Again, myself and other partners there have built a case manager program. We've presented it to CDHS. Would be happy to present it again. It mirrors exactly the work that you were talking about. We piloted in East Atlanta. It's been scaled up to 4 or 5 different districts. Sweet Auburn, these neighbors, these folks that are at the table, in Town Cares, but also with Partners for Home, which we have had those meetings with. Catherine, I thought, had a great conversation a few weeks ago. All of these agencies, also O'Hearn House, Georgia Works, Mercy Care, PCCI, Trinity, all those partners that have the housing that we are talking about looking for, so that we can create a pathway from the folks that are currently living on Old Wheat into the housing in the community. And I'm really honored and excited that all of those partners are at the table wanting to help. So thank you. I will be here to continue to try to help in any way that I can. Happy to be a resource. I've known this neighborhood a very long time, and I don't by any means think that what occurred on Old Wheat was at all malicious, intended, and that DPW employee, I think about them often because I know that that was not their intention at all. So I just hope that we can be more proactive and preventative in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
I could just add, Mr. Chair, we will extend an invitation to all members of council.
Sure.
So every member will have an invitation and be allowed or to attend at their convenience.
Thank you. Councilmember Dozier.
Just want to add to just for everyone to hear, the next core meeting will be next week on May 6th. If you all want to join that, that is the group, again, that the full task force comes together. And the plan there is to talk about what we're presented here in council today. The task force also received an executive summary similar to you all, and we walked through every step before we presented today. So I asked before the end of each meeting, were all hearts and minds clear with what was going to be presented today? And I think everybody was comfortable with the direction that we're moving forward in, and I'll make sure moving forward that everybody has the rest of the dates for the remaining 45 days.
Where will it be held? Where?
MLK Rec Center.
What day and time?
It's going to be on Tuesday, May 6th at 10 a.m.
Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see Ms. Allison. And it was just before I start with my question, I appreciate you and the team for being out in the Mechanicsville community this past Saturday for the open house. Thought it was, now granted, there was a lot going on that day at Dunbar Neighborhood Center, but it was just great to have community members have their questions answered and seeing kind of the next phase of the 405 Cooper development. I'm excited to finally get to a point where we break some ground. I know y'all been working on this for a long time, and I think the community's finally getting to a point to where they're excited, not just about that development, but all the other investments that are happening to the community. So it's been a long time coming, but we're finally here. Just a couple quick questions. During public comment from Housing Justice League, I heard a comment about just the number of folks on the task force. So looking at the list, I will say that there's a lot of organizations. What has quorum or participation looked like for these meetings, recognizing just the volume of entities that are involved in the conversation?
Yeah, so we were conscious about the fact that there are a lot of organizations and possibility of not making quorum, which is why we are intentional about listing the organization versus the individual. Everybody during the kickoff meeting, it was explained to them that they could send a proxy. We were meeting with the CEOs and founders of some of these organizations, which we understood that these meetings could be very time consuming and that they might want to send someone else. Although their subject matter expertise might be in the mental and medical health subcommittee, that if they wanted to learn what someone was doing in an alternative and emerging solutions, and didn't have time to attend, that they would be afforded the opportunity to bring a proxy. Given that, we were able to kind of keep up our numbers in each of those meetings. But that's also why we doubled down on making sure that everybody knows by having pairing it with the core task meeting, so everybody has an opportunity to learn what's been going on.
Okay. And then my other question, myself and my colleague, Councilman Westmoreland, serve on the Continuum of Care Governing Council. And I want to call it a concern, but I do wonder, number one, how much overlap there is with the work that the Governing Council is already doing, and number two, what sort of work is being done to ensure alignment with the work that the Governing Council is doing. So I recognize Partners for Home is part of this, the task force body, but the Governing Council is continuing to do work beyond when the task force is sunset. So I'm just curious what those conversations have looked like, what opportunities are there, and just making sure that we're not duplicating any of the work that our various bodies are doing.
Yeah, honestly, we can many of the organizations, we might be in at 10 o'clock together, and I see them again at 2 o'clock and again at 4 o'clock. So some of the conversations are happening. I wouldn't say that they're duplicate. I think that each of them have a focus. The task force is one thing, which I mentioned. We have the 4 subcommittees, which are very targeted conversations. But we also have another group with the homelessness downtown work with Downtown Reimagining, where that is focused on entities that provide outreach services downtown with business stakeholders as well. We also have a group that specifically is working on public feeding. Again, making sure that that's something that's addressed, not just centralized downtown, but how we can address that regionally. So the different conversations are happening amongst all of us outside of the task force and even some smaller groups as them learning that resources are available and them having smaller conversations outside of the task force. I do not anticipate that this stops. I really believe that although an unfortunate situation happened and the task was created to facilitate more conversation, I think that it will create a new culture in Atlanta to continue these conversations. We understand how important it is to coordinate, and I know, not trying to be cliche and still what the mayor always says, but this really is a group project. And we have to continue to work together in order to actually build a system. In this task force too, we've been studying other cities to see what they've been doing to actually make strides and move forward and see what the return on investment is and some of the strategies and programs that they're putting in place. It's good to have a great idea, but is it going to work? Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to learn from other cities and learn from people who are on the ground to see what we can actually implement here that can not only help with the low-hanging fruit today and putting someone in a home, but making sure that it's sustained 5-10 years after this administration.
Thank you. And just on that same note, one thing I do remain concerned about is how we resource that implementation. I know we just received the mayor's budget today, our body did, but I also know that there's been a lot of turmoil generated from Washington, D.C. around services and support efforts for cities who are trying to lean into this work. If I remember correctly, just a few months ago, a lot of our providers were locked out of federal portals and had trouble receiving necessary funding. And so I know we are trying to figure out what best practices and ways to move forward, but I'm concerned about our ability to deliver on that, considering some of these funding constraints. Is that within the scope of what the task force is going to be working on as well, as far as identifying future funding opportunities? I know Catherine just 6 months ago presented before this body to share that, hey, we're looking at, $40 million sort of programming gap to be able to try to end homelessness in Atlanta. Are we looking at ways, strategies in which we can fill that gap? I'm just curious what those conversations have been like, if they've happened at all.
No, absolutely. I don't know if many of you know, I'm also working on a lot of housing too. So it was similar to that, all hands on deck. I mean, we have to face the reality that if those sources don't flow down to us again, we still have to get the work done. So that is a conversation. As I mentioned in the slide, the presentation, that one of the key observations was that there was a lack of resources. Again, what we found is that some people were able to find resources from other organizations. It's not going to be everything, but we're going to continue to work together to figure out how we can, again, making sure that the projects that we recommend are feasible and that they're sustainable. It's one thing to put something up, but can it last? And we don't want to bring in a service or a program that people are actually enjoying and they're thriving and benefiting from, and we have to say, we can't continue to operate it. So we're being very, very conscious of that before we move forward with anything. And again, just to clarify, at the end of the task force, we are providing actionable recommendations. I've been very transparent with everyone on the call that not everything will be done right away, but it's good to have these conversations, to have it in our archives to say, okay, we did A, B, and C, let's move on to D, let's move on to E and F, as we can continue to grow and scale the work that we're doing. But it is definitely a conversation that will need to continue to be had. Right now, as far as the task force, we're looking at local resources, how we can tap into each other to sustain and preserve what's already there. And I think that that's very important right now, is to continue to stand up what is here before starting too many new programs. But I'm hopeful that we can implement some of these things, because it's really been some great conversations that have been coming out of it. But you're very accurate. And I think that goes for every program that receives these federal fundings, that there's fear there, but we have to acknowledge it.
Thank you. And then just my last question. I recognize that you shared a lot of updates and changes happening operationally with regards to encampment closures from a staff standpoint, from a process and procedure standpoint. Are there any changes being made in terms of how those closures are being communicated to the general public? I know I've heard murmurings about different, now that we're past the moratorium deadline, potential encampment closures on the coming up pretty soon. I have community members that have a lot of questions about encampments that they're having to deal with in the community. And I know internally there are processes tied to schedules and timelines and things like that, but are y'all reviewing how that gets communicated to the general public or even to council offices so that we can be prepared to respond to questions or concerns that might arise from that?
Yeah, we've actually had conversations about that. As I included in the presentation, we did discuss increasing the signage and making sure that it's up in ample time to let people know that the encampment is closing. What people may not know is that outreach teams aren't going to the sites once we post a sign and saying, okay, now I need to talk to people. They've been engaging individuals specifically for prior since last October. And continuing these conversations. So it's time leading up to it before the signage is posted, but we can be more transparent and communicating with the community and property owners and even our council members, and making sure that you all are aware once final dates are created. So when the internal team finalizes any dates, we'll make sure that certain communications are provided for you all to be able to know what's going on before anything is moved on site.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, I yield.
Thank you. Councilmember Boone.
Yes, I would like to thank you for the hard work that you did on the Forest Cove project and also doing the fire at the 405 Fairburn Road. You solicited for furniture and all types of items for those families, and it was over 34 families. So thank you for your support and your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Westmoreland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo the thanks. I did see the Chief Operating Officer walk in, and I didn't know if she wanted to add any comments. Nope. Okay, then I'm good.
All right, thank you. And I'll just add my thanks to you and everyone who signed up for the task force. I also had original concerns about the number of people or number of organizations that were on there, but I'll also add that I was on the hundreds of calls, texts, and emails from folks who wanted to be on the task force and participate in this program. And so that number could have easily ballooned over to 100. But we unfortunately had to say no to some people who wanted to be part of this process. And we continue to thank them for wanting to step up and just be part of this process as we do this in a very thoughtful manner. So I just want to thank you all for getting us to this point at a 45-day process. A lot of people think that we create committees and task force to kill ideas. And I think this proves that, we can get the right folks in the room. We can get meaningful results out of it. And there's a lot more to come out of this. And I hope that after the 90-day mark, that we're able to continue these conversations so that we can work with organizations to come up with, creative ideas as we all work together to try to do everything we can to eradicate homelessness in the city of Atlanta. So thank you for your update. Are there any more questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, and we look forward to getting the 90-day report. So thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So that concludes our presentation sections of the agenda. Takes us to section G on our agenda today. So I will defer to Ms. Till.
That takes us to section G, public hearing items. The first is 25-0-1058. May we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
Can you repeat the mover, please?
Second.
The vote is open. Will all members please vote? The vote is closed, 5 yeas, 0 nays. The public hearing is open. 25-0-1058, an ordinance by council members Alex Wan and Liliana Bakhtiari, as amended by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to designate property at 2231 Glenwood Avenue Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30316 to the low-density mixed-use land use designation and for other purposes.
Thank you. Ms. Lavandier.
Yes. Hello, my name is Jessica Lavandier. I work with the City Planning Department, the Office of Zoning and Development, and I'll provide information about this item. This is, there was a petition to annex this parcel into the City of Atlanta, and it is adjacent to the East Atlanta neighborhood at MPUO in Council District 5. It is about 0.8 acres, and it's currently developed with a multifamily residential building with ground floor retail. So part of that development is already in the City of Atlanta. So this parcel will the whole development will be in the City of Atlanta. The practice or the law requires the parcel to have the same land use and zoning as it currently exists in the county where it's located. So this is in unincorporated DeKalb, and in DeKalb County, they have character areas as opposed to land use. It has a commercial redevelopment corridor character area, and it has a suburban, neighborhood shopping zoning. So we feel that the proposed low-density mixed use is consistent with that corridor, the commercial redevelopment corridor character area that's in DeKalb County. This was before the MPUO, and they recommended approval at their March meeting, and staff also recommends approval of the proposed land use designation.
All right, thank you. We did have some confusion with our public comment sign up today, but I do not believe anyone is here that signed up to speak to this specific item. Okay, so seeing none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing. Have a second?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The public hearing is closed. May we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? A second by Bakhtiari. If you please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you. I will.
Favorable as amended. That takes us to item number 2, 25-0-1059. May we have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The public hearing is open. 25-0-1059, an ordinance by council members Alex Wan and Liliana Bakhtiari as amended by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to designate certain parcels located in the Brighton Village subdivision to the low-density residential land use designation and for other purposes.
Ms. Lavender.
Yes, thank you. This is also annexation into the city, the Brighton Village. It's composed of 43 parcels that total about 10 acres, and they're all developed with single-family homes. This is adjacent to MPUW and Council District 5 in the East Atlanta neighborhood. In DeKalb County, it has a suburban character area. The proposal is for it to have a low-density residential character area. So it's a similar type of development pattern in both. And this was before MPUW, and they voted to approve this land use amendment at their April meeting, and staff recommends approval of the proposed land use amendment, the proposed land use designation, I'm sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I do not believe we had anyone signed up to speak to this specific legislative item. Seeing none, seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing. I have a second. By Councilmember Bakhtiari.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The public hearing is closed. May we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. That takes us to our consent agenda, ordinances for first reading. 25-0-1224. An ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee adopting Plan A, the City of Atlanta's 2025 Comprehensive Development Plan, as the official comprehensive development plan for the City of Atlanta, Georgia, in compliance with the requirements of the Georgia Planning Act of 1989 and for other purposes. Number 6, 25-0-1225, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to adopt the Stitch Master Plan as the City of Atlanta's plan reconnecting North Downtown Atlanta to amend the 2021 City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan by incorporating by reference said plan and for other purposes. Number 7, 25-0-1226, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee waiving Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 10, Division 4 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute the Fourth Amendment to agreement number listed zoning ordinance rewrite with Tunnel, Sprangler, and Associates on behalf of the Department of City Planning to extend the term of the agreement effective from September 16th, 2025 through September 15th, 2027, and for other purposes. Item number 8, 250-1227, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to waive Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 1, Section 2-910, to retroactively authorize and ratify the City of Atlanta's submission of an application for the Community Challenge Grant from the American Association of Retired Persons in an amount not to exceed $25,000.00 on behalf of the Department of City Planning, with funding to be utilized for the reconnection of communities divided by infrastructure and for other purposes. Number 9, 250-1228, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to correct 240-1298, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 17, 2024, and approved per city charter, Section 2-403, on June 26, 2024, authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Atlanta and Blue Heron Nature Preserve on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation by correcting the term of the agreement to have an effective date through May 31st, 2026, and for other purposes. That takes us to our regular agenda. Ordinances for second reading, 250-1195. An ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to anticipate and appropriate funds in the amount not to exceed $39,230.73 from the Department of Grants and Community Development General Fund account in order to repay the Georgia Department of Community Affairs for the purpose of satisfying disallowed costs for the Neighborhood Stabilization Program 1 grant and for other purposes.
So, I think you have the mover and the seconder, right?
Yes. The vote is open.
It doesn't say that.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 11, 250-1196, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to waive Chapter 2, Article 9, Division 1, Section 2-910, to retroactively authorize and ratify the City of Atlanta submission of grant application for the 2025 Asphalt Art Initiative Grant from Bloomberg Philanthropies on behalf of the Atlanta Department of City Planning in an amount not to exceed $100,000.00 to be utilized for the installation of artwork within the right-of-way and for other purposes.
Ms. Forte, who is not Mr. Young.
Good afternoon, council members. So the purpose of this legislation is to retroactively authorize the application for the Bloomberg Asphalt Art Grant. The goal of this project is to transform an intersection to enhance the walking and cycling network, improve access to a culturally and historic significant location, and activate pedestrian space. The specific intersection selected was Joseph E. Boone Boulevard and Griffin Street in the English Avenue Vine City community, which will enhance 3/4 miles of crosswalks with unique art and a roadway mural. This site emphasizes several initiatives within our overall goal for the City of Atlanta, highlighting the following: Vision Zero, Safe Routes to School, the Neighborhood Transformation Initiative, or the Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative, as well as addressing design standards set forth in the Atlanta City Design, such as access, equity, and progress, all of which to aim to enhance safety and community development. The application was submitted January 31st of 2025. The city has previously won an award for the Bloomberg Foundation in 2022. The ATL DOT was awarded $25,000 to add a pedestrian walk lane to the intersection of Boulevard Granada Southwest and Cascade Road Southwest, located in the Adams Park neighborhood.
All right, thank you. Got a motion to approve. It's been seconded. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
One, love this, so thank you. I was curious, I just had a question. Given everything we're talking about, the TPO right now, and like in improving air quality, I've been looking into what other cities have done, and there's been like green art on the side of like parking decks and other things to help alleviate that. Apparently it's been very successful. And I was wondering if we had if something like this or other philanthropies around art, if that could be like folded into any of these moving forward. I know you don't have the answer for that now, but I would just love to.
That's a great idea, yeah.
I thought it could help
Yeah.
with the urban healing effect, the fact that we're running out of plantable areas, right, Janity? And and I thought it could be something, and defining it as art, because it is.
Yes, it is.
So I'll also keep looking into that, but I thought if any time was the time to ask that, it hit me right now. So, yeah, I would love to.
All right, thank you. So we do have a motion to approve by Councilmember Bakhtiari, I think, and then we had a second. No.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 12, 25-0-1197, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee or the chief procurement officer or her designee on behalf of the city of Atlanta to acquire from the Conservation Fund a parcel of land comprising of approximately 0.297 acres, more or less, of real property located at 2039 Arlington Circle Northwest, Atlanta, 30318, Fulton County Tax Parcel ID number listed for the expansion of the City of Atlanta's park, commonly and currently known as Arlington Circle Playlot, for a total purchase price not to exceed $124,514.19, authorizing the mayor or his designee or the chief procurement officer or her designee on behalf of the city to execute all documents necessary to acquire the property, authorizing acquisition, due diligence, closing costs, signage, demolition, site stabilization, and other site development costs to be paid from the Park Impact Fee West account, amending the 2025 General Government Capital Outlay Fund budgets in the Department of Parks and Recreation and Department of Finance, Parks West Service District by transferring to and from the various accounts listed herein, waiving Section 2-1541D of Article 10 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City Code of Ordinances, and for other purposes. The department asks that we hold this legislation.
Motion to hold.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been held in committee. That takes us to item number 13, 25-0-1208. An ordinance by Councilmember Jason H. Winston waiving the competitive source selection provisions contained in Section 2-1187 of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to execute the First Amendment to agreement number listed, Adult and Dislocated Worker Career Services with Arbor ENT LLC, doing business as Equise Workforce Solutions on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services, also known as WorkSource Atlanta, to extend the term on a month-to-month basis for a period not to exceed 9 months, effective from July 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $600,000.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department organization and account numbers determined by the chief financial officer and for other purposes.
Thank you. Mr. McClendon.
Good afternoon, Council. Again, my name is Sherrod McClendon, Senior Compliance Specialist with the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services. This legislation is a request from our office to approve the extension of the current Equis contract. Equis currently serves as our sub-vendor for adult and dislocated workers. The current contract expires on June 30th, 2025, as required by the Department of as required, the Department of Procurement conducted a competitive bid process to find a new vendor for our adult and dislocated worker services. Unfortunately, that recent bid did not provide yield a responsive bidder. And so to avoid service disruption, we recommend the month-to-month contract extension not to exceed the amount of $600,000 from July 1st, 2025 to March 30th, 2026. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve. A second by Westmoreland. Can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. That takes us to item number 14, 250-1214, an ordinance by Councilmember Matt Westmoreland authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta and the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter into a memorandum of understanding between the City of Atlanta and the Northside Youth Organization for the purpose of providing continued athletic programming at Chastain Park for a term of 5 years with 1 5-year renewal options, waiving the competitive procurement provisions contained in Part 2, Chapter 2, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, provide a donation from the City of Atlanta to NYO in an amount not to exceed $4,500,000.00 from impact fees for the construction of a new gym at Chastain Park, authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to make payments from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner Meyer.
Yeah, my name is Rachel Marr. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of council. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Partnerships and Enterprise in the Department of Parks and Recreation. For over 70 years, the city's partnered with NYO, a nonprofit focused on the growth and development of young athletes. They serve over 5,000 youth annually, and they are an integral part of the North Atlanta community. Their programming includes football, baseball, softball, basketball, and cheerleading. This legislation will allow us to enter into a new MOU that includes additional public benefits, such as baseball clinics offered around the city at no charge to participants, scholarships for NYO clinics, participation in exhibition games with youth enrolled in DPR programming, dedicated hours in the new gym. NYO is responsible for the regular maintenance and upkeep of the complex at Chastain, investing over $1 million annually into the baseball and football fields, the gym, and other amenities. This legislation also authorizes a $4.5 million donation to Chastain from the city to support the construction of the new gym. These dollars will be coming from the Park Improvement Fund and will be matched by approximately $14.5 million in philanthropic dollars raised by NYO. The city had previously put out 2 RFPs to construct the gym, both of which were unsuccessful, and we now believe that working with NYO to have them lead this project is the most expedient way to move it forward to completion. The MOU clearly outlines NYO's obligations to construct the improvements and the timeline to do so. So the department looks forward to our continued partnership and growing collaboration with NYO in the years to come, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Westmoreland.
I'd like to make a motion to amend to add Councilmember Norwood's name.
Second. Second to add my name to the legislation. All right, so amendment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Is there a motion to approve as amended?
Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
No, just like that. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. That takes us to item number 15, 25-0-1215. An ordinance by council members Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Matt Westmoreland, Andrea L. Boone, Howard Shook, Alex Swan, Liliana Bakhtiari, Jason H. Winston, Byron Amos, and Amir Faroki, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Labor and Employment Services WorkSource Atlanta office to accept a Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Dislocated Worker Program grant for rapid response, an amount not to exceed $70,000.00 from the Technical College System of Georgia Office of Workforce Development to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY25 Job Training Grant Fund budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in an amount not to exceed $70,000.00. All funds shall be paid to and charged from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Good luck with your grant. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. That takes us to Section K, Resolutions, item number 16, 25R3327. A resolution by council members Antonio Lewis, Michael Julian Bond, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Matt Westmoreland, Andrea L. Boone, Howard Shook, Alex Swan, Liliana Bakhtiari, Jason Winston, Byron Amos, and Amir Faroki to honor the life, legacy, and community impact of Michael Langford Sr. by accepting the recommendations of the Michael Langford Legacy Commission by renaming a designated section of Pryor Road as Michael Langford Drive and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Bakhtiari. If you could please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. That takes us to item number 17, 25R3421, a resolution by Community Development and Human Services Committee to authorize the First Amendment to sole source agreement number listed, Open Counter Online Assistance Application Software and Services, to change the vendor name pursuant to an acquisition and assignment, to exercise the first renewal option of sole source agreement number listed, Open Counter Online Assistant Application Software and Services, on behalf of the Department of City Planning for a term of 1 year effective from June 29, 2025 to June 29, 2026, an amount not to exceed $157,800.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the fund department account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Do you have someone? I have Christopher Colbert here. Mr. Colbert, if you don't mind coming up, tell us a little bit about this legislation.
Sure. The purpose of this, Christopher Colbert, Assistant Director of Operations for the Office of Buildings. Purpose of this legislation is to renew the sole source agreement with Open Counter Enterprise for the services we receive related to permitting and licensing processes. The additional term for the 1 year is at a cost of $157,800. Additionally, Open Counter Enterprise was acquired by Acela Incorporated, so this legislation formally recognizes Acela as the new awardee.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. That takes us to item number 18. Is that right? Yeah. 25R3422, a resolution by Community Development and Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute agreements for the RFP number listed, on-call general consulting services for Agreement A with Tunnel Sprangler and Associates, Agreement B with River to Tap, Agreement C with Blue Cypress Consulting, and Agreement D with APD Urban Planning and Development on behalf of the Department of City Planning to provide architectural design and engineering, public engagement, and comprehensive planning services for a term not to exceed 3 years with 1 2-year renewal options as an on-call task order-based service in amount not to exceed $1.5 million and 0 cents and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'll make a motion to attach the IPRO report, to amend to attach the IPRO report. We have a second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
Thank you. And Deputy Commissioner Sitterfall, I'll let you speak to this, but I will say, having been under the tutelage of our FEC chair for a while now, seeing some of these type of IPRO reports come across as a little problematic, seeming that there were some issues with this one. I just want to see if, just what steps have been taken to kind of mitigate some of the issues that were in this report in terms of signatures not being aligned with where they should have in the report.
We'll be working with the Department of Procurement to ensure that these kinds of issues don't occur, especially at the last minute when we have already started the legislation moving through the pipeline.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you.
I have a second by Bakhtiari.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. That takes us to item number 19, 25R3423, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate an amount not to exceed $500,000 and 0 cents pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to Livable Buckhead for the implementation of Phase 1 Trailhead, Boardwalk, and Picnic Pavilion of the Old Ivy Park Conceptual Master Plan in collaboration with the Perez Planning and Design, to authorize the mayor or his designee to execute a donation agreement, to authorize the chief financial officer to make the donation payment from the account listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you, Director Hicks. How are you?
Good afternoon, council members. Good to see you guys today. I am Keith Hicks. I'm with the Department of Parks and Recreation. I'm here this afternoon to present a resolution for the purpose of a donation in the amount of $500,000 to support Livable Buckhead's mission and assist in implementing their Phase 1 new trail, boardwalk, and picnic pavilion in the Old Ivy Park Conceptual Master Plan in collaboration with Perez Planning and Design, LLC. As you might know, Livable Buckhead is a nonprofit dedicated to enhancing the quality of life and attracting residents and businesses in the Buckhead community. The donation aligns with the city's commitment in increasing and enhancing community recreation areas and amenities. A donation agreement will be executed by DPR and Livable Buckhead for the donation. The funding for this is entirely from the Moving Atlanta Forward Infrastructure Horizontal Bond Program. And I'd like to just share with you the benefits to the community for the donation will improve an existing underutilized park, increasing park amenities for the neighborhood. It supports community-driven initiatives for recreation, trails, and outdoor activities. And so lastly, I would like your support so that the resolution not only benefits the residents of the Buckhead community, but for all Atlantans that visit Old Ivy Park.
All right, thank you, Director Hicks. Any questions, comments from colleagues?
Move approval.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Norwood, second by Councilmember Dozier.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Sorry.
Thank you, guys.
Just real quick, Director Hicks, before you take off, because, you know, I ask about this every time I see you. I'm thankful that the ground's been broken over at Windsor Street Park. Do we have a updated timeline on kind of the next phase or when we can expect?
Mr. Chair, if you can please direct Councilmember Dozier, this is not the time for district-specific questions.
I would have to get with the contractor, but I know that it's going to be completed before Easter.
Oh, okay, thank you. Oh, before Easter
Yeah.
of 2026?
Actually, we just had Easter.
Yes.
Okay, no, Memorial Day.
Thank you. I yield.
All right, thank you.
We do not have any papers coming off of held. So that would take us to Section M, walk-in legislation. We have 2 pieces today. The first is M's ID number 37872, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee to amend and correct Ordinance 250-1138, which was adopted on April 21st, 2025, and approved on April 22nd, 2025, which authorized the City of Atlanta to donate funds in an amount not to exceed $12,000.00 each to East Atlanta Business Association, Little Five Points Business Association, West End Merchants Coalition, Virginia Highland District Association, and Sweet Auburn Works, and which authorized the mayor or his designee to execute corresponding agreements therewith for terms of 12 months to support and encourage participation in the Atlanta Main Street Program, to remove certain organizations unauthorized to receive donations under Charter Section 6-306 and for other purposes.
Thank you. Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Thank you, and I want to thank Law for their correction to this. Ms. Robinson, would you mind explaining what the corrections was and what the corrections were and why they need to take place?
Good afternoon, Amber A. Robinson, City of Atlanta Department of Law. Certainly, in accordance with the charter at Section 6306, which provides for an exemption to the Georgia Constitution's gratuity clause. It allows for the city to donate monies to certain organizations for purely charitable purposes. Certain of the organizations listed herein were business organizations for which charitable tax deductions are not available, and so therefore they were not eligible to receive donations in this manner. And so this legislation corrects that problem with the previously adopted and approved legislation.
Thank you. And DCP has been made aware, City Planning has been, that manages Main Street, has been made aware of the issue?
They have.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to say, I do believe there are some people on this legislation, agencies that are eligible, correct?
That's correct. This only removes the ineligible organizations. Yes. The eligible organizations include Virginia Highland District Association and Sweet Auburn Works. They remain eligible.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to just say for City Planning and the managers of the Main Street Program, I appreciate the law doing this. I do want to understand the corrections we can make moving forward, but especially there are some agencies that are included on this paper that we've had immense issues getting that money out into the community. So in addition to correcting the legalities around this, I do want to flag, not for law, but for the managers of the Main Street Program, that we do have an issue with these dollars actually getting out into the community. And that is something I'd also like to investigate fixing. So thank you. And I motion to approve.
This is a first read ordinance.
Oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. It's Tuesday. Thank you, Chair.
That takes us to our next walk-in item, Elms ID number 37873, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute a ground lease agreement with Partners for Home for property located at 405 Cooper Street Southwest, Atlanta, Georgia, 30312. Atlanta, Fulton County, Georgia, tax parcel ID number listed, for a lease term not to exceed 75 years, to be used to develop quick delivery housing on public land as part of the City of Atlanta's Rapid Housing Initiative, waiving the competitive procurement provisions contained in Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City Code of Ordinances, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to allude to something that the chair had stated, reference to the previous legislation that was read in, just so I'm clear and so my community is clear, because my community is very interested in following this and other pieces of legislation that are associated with this project every step of the way. But for everyone's awareness, just want to get clarity. We won't be discussing or voting on this matter until the May 13th CDHS meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So you hear that, Mechanicsville folks? May 13th. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our legislative items.
All right, thank you. Any parting words, comments, Councilmember Dozier? Nope, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick, want to remind the general public that this Saturday, we'll be hosting a District 4 Youth Job Fair, serving members of our community ages 14 to 24. We will be providing breakfast. We'll have folks out there providing free headshots, resume support, record expungement resources, as well as job opportunities. So come on out. If you're interested, it'll be at the APS Student and Family Support Hub, which is at 601 Dr. Thomas Cole Jr. Way, formerly known as Beckwith Street. It's the old Oglethorpe Elementary School. Hope to see you all out there. We're doing it in partnership with Atlanta Public Schools. And then after you get a job on Saturday, join us for our Jazz Fest event in Mosley Park on Sunday at Mosley Park. That'll be at 4:00 p.m. on Sunday. So thank y'all.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Bond.
I just have a question. I apologize. I was tardy for the meeting. Is the tree ordinance work session still Thursday?
Yes, I was going to make that announcement next.
Okay. So it was my understanding that we were going to substitute what was being held for what the department was working on. So we're not doing that today?
So I don't have any substitutes in front of me. We didn't have anything to vote on today. But these finish.
I was going to answer that.
Yeah.
I believe that per the administration, they are still waiting for what comes out of the work session to give their input before we make the substitute, is my understanding. I don't believe that the mayor has yet given his input on the edit. So they're holding for that, is my understanding, at least what was told to us in our meeting around the TPO.
Well, you know, that's odd, because if we're going to have a work session, we're in effect will be having, the only thing before us will be the paper that's held in committee.
It's my understanding that any substitutes or changes will be presented on Thursday during the work session.
So they'll have a red line copy of what will be proposed?
We can request that.
Well, then let's make that a formal request so that people can see what's changing in the ordinance.
Sure.
And be updated.
All right.
So I guess staff, you all will make that formal request?
Yes, Councilmember.
All right, I would appreciate that. And if copies can, I've been asking for 2 weeks now for a copy of the draft, and was assured that I would receive it at some point. And I know that the mayor has to opine on what, he's going to support. But I was told that was going to happen last Thursday by the law department and by the commissioner. And there are a lot of people watching this and are very interested in it. And I think that the sooner that we get the information out before the public, the sooner that we can put a tree ordinance in place. Well, I'll see you all. What time on Thursday, Mr. Chairman?
So yes, so just so everyone knows, I was going to make the announcement. So the work session will be held here in the Larry M. Dingle Committee Room at 10:30 a.m. on Thursday. That's May the 1st, 2025, and this will be in discussion of Ordinance 24-0-1691, which is the tree protection ordinance that was introduced by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond.
Okay, thank you. I just have one other announcement. Next Wednesday, May the 7th, at 2 p.m., the former Hello Fresh food distribution is now Atlanta Fresh and Free, and will be held at the Israel Baptist Church over on Hosea Williams Boulevard. At our last event, we were able to distribute tons of groceries to over 1,000 families. So if you need the help with the tariffs and just regular inflation that's going on, no shame in the game. Come by if you can't. If you don't want to participate, I'm sure you know someone who could and who is worthy and deserving. So we'll be out there Wednesday, May 7th at 2 p.m. at the Israel Baptist Church over on Hosea Williams Drive in East Atlanta. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other parting words, comments from colleagues? Seeing none, we stand adjourned.